Hi everyone, Anthony Morganti here. In today's video, I'm going to give you a quick overview of Portrait Pro 23. As you can see, I'm working with the trial version. The trial version is limited. With the trial version, you will not be able to save or print your results. The reason why I haven't purchased it is because I'm really not sure if I'm going to do more videos on it. Let me know in the comments section below if you'd like me to do more videos on it, and if you do, I will pay for the program and do proper videos on Portrait Pro 23. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I actually was a Portrait Pro user, but the last version I owned was Portrait Pro 8, which, if you think they came out with a new version every year, was 15 years ago, and it doesn't seem that long ago. It seems more like 10. But either way, I had Portrait Pro 8, and the reason why I stopped using it is everything I needed to do, I could do in Photoshop, and I didn't think the extra expense for Portrait Pro was warranted, so I stopped using it. But with that said, I have received emails from people now and then asking me about Portrait Pro 23, hence I'm doing this video. Now, there are 3 different versions of Portrait Pro 23. At the end, I'll go over the pricing and show you the different features you get with each version. When you download the free trial like I did, you get the most expensive version there is with all the features. So what we're going to do is we're going to open a single image. On my desktop, I have a number of images, and you can see one of them is a Nikon RAW file. With the middle version, the middle price version, or the most expensive version, you could work on RAW files. With the cheapest version, you cannot work on RAW files. You only could work on JPEGs and TIFFs. In this case, I'm just going to open this JPEG here. So I'm going to open this up, and you'll see that it will immediately find features on the person's face. And then typically it will do some processing already. And you can see it puts trial across the person's forehead. I guess they don't trust you. They think you're going to make a screenshot and share it that way. But either way, you have this ugly trial, and we're going to have to look at that throughout this video. There's different views. You could see the before and after, and you can see on the left-hand side, obviously, is the before, then the after. And when you hover over it, you'll see the overlays for the person's nose, eyes, eyebrows, and so on. You come off it, you'll see those overlays are removed. And then you can see on the right-hand side is the finished version. You could look at the before only or the after only right there. So that's pretty much it. It does processing of a person's face. And over on the right-hand side, you have controls under this tab, and we'll go over some of these controls in a moment. Next to that, you have presets. So you could see, you get a preview of the preset. You can make the person look happy. You can make them look glamorous. You could do slimming right lit and so on, slimming left lit and so on. So you have a lot of presets to choose from. Next to that, you have snapshots. With a snapshot, you could do some processing on an image and then say you like it, create a snapshot. Then you could undo some of that processing and go down a different path and try something else. And if you go down that other path and you decide you don't like what you did, you could revert back to where you were by just clicking on the snapshot you saved. So that's where that comes in. And you do have history, so you'll have all the steps you did in your processing here, so you could go back step by step through history if you choose. Now, as you noticed, it did some processing already, and specifically you could see what it did with these power buttons. When the power buttons are active, that means processing was done for those sections. See makeup, it didn't do any makeup, and it didn't do any layers or tools. Now let's just kind of quickly go over some of the things you could do with Portrait Pro 23. You can see that there's different categories. We have shape. We'll roll that open, and you can see that there's a lot of controls, and there's a lot of controls within controls. For example, with face shape, you can see there's a little triangle here. It's called an expose triangle. Oh, by the way, you get these tooltips popping up a lot. You could hide them forever or just click hide. I'll just click hide for that. Kind of gives you an idea of what you could do with the shape section. That's what that tooltip was. We could roll open face shape, and you can see that there's 2 sliders within there, forehead and jaw. Let's just try that. You can see how you could change the shape of her forehead, change the shape of her jaw. All right, so those are there. So you could just be aware that those triangles, wherever those are, you could find finer controls usually under those triangles. Now, at the top, we have this master fade control. So just kind of move it to the right, and you can see how it is affecting the shape of her face in a great way. You could do eye widening. Again, roll that open. You have individuals. So you could do the widening to individual eyes and so on. Eye expanding. So a lot of different like nuances ties, like with eyes, left eye. See how that just kind of makes the eye larger and right eye. Or you could go to the slider at the top and do both eyes at the same time. You have eyebrow shape, cross-eyed. You could do that if you need to. But then below that, eye widening. So you could make the eyes wider, and we could do the left or the right individually of one another. I do like individual controls for eyes because quite often, if you're working with a certain focal length lens, and if the model is turned away like a 45-degree angle, right now it wouldn't apply to her. She's looking straight onto the camera. But if the model is turned a little bit away, sometimes because of that focal length, you're going to make one eye considerably larger than the other. It looks that way at least, and you could correct that here with these individual eye controls. So I like that. And you have eye expanding. And then you have mouth shape. You have, you could change the shape of the upper lip, lower lip, change your expression. There's more on that in a minute. But we have mouth shape. We have plump lips. So this is kind of like a Botox injection, right? Plump outer lips if you need to or want to. Nose. And part of the reason why I stopped using Portrait Pro is I didn't do a lot of these things. When I edited portraits, I never changed the structure of a person's face. I would occasionally increase the size of one of the person's eyes if the focal length lens I was using and their pose caused one of those eyes to look dramatically smaller than the other. So that's the only thing I ever really did that changed their actual look. So a lot of these I didn't really feel the need to do. You could see, you could change the shape of her nose, neck and shoulders. And if you're doing neck and shoulders, what I would suggest you do, first of all, we'll hide this tooltip, is I would go to the view where you're looking at the entire image. You can see right now we have the navigator window. We're just looking pretty much at her face. But if we go up here, we could change to a different view where we're seeing the entire image. Then with neck and shoulders, you could change and see exactly what you're doing. And you could see there's a lot of nuance here. Slim neck, you could do the left, the right. You could neck base, left or right, shoulders, left, right, and so on. So there's a lot of nuance there. When you're done with that section, you may want to change your view back to just her face. Here's expressions. I mentioned that this is kind of wild. You could add a smile. And of course, that looks hideous when you go too far. So you could give someone a bit of a grin. A frown. That looks bad. Surprise. That looks bad. Interest. That looks bad. Thoughtful. Yeah, that's not good. So the only one here that I would ever consider doing, and I probably wouldn't do at all, is just give them a bit of a grin. Other than that, I don't think any of those other ones look too good, at least on this image. So that's expressions. Sometimes too, if they're wearing glasses and you're shooting with a specific focal length lens, the lens is adding pincushion or barrel distortion depending on the focal length, and it may distort the frame of the glasses and it won't look right. And you could restore that if you click this checkbox right there. So that shape, got into that a little bit too much. All right. Skin smoothing. This is, something that you'd probably do master fade. So if you go to the right, you can see it does more. Go to the left, it does less. You could do it specifically around her eyes or, lighten eye bags, left eye, right eye individually, and so on. So you have a lot of nuance, a lot of fine control here. Remove imperfections, get thin wrinkles, fine shadows. See like the shadows right in here. You just lessen those if you want to. Remove pores. See how it just kind of smooths over pores a little more. Remove shine. With grease, this usually doesn't work. Yeah, I never liked the way that one looked. And then you could sharpen. Typically, you're not really going to want to sharpen a portrait. You can see what it does. You may want, I guess, if you're photographing like an old cowboy or something and you want to accentuate the wrinkles on their face, I suppose you could do that. You could trim eyebrows. Her eyebrows are pretty much perfect. Texture, you could add the pores back if you need to there. Spot removal, I didn't want to do that. Let's go back to this view. There we go. All right, let's go to this and let's turn this off. And you can see there's little like kind of tiny blemishes, blackheads here and there, right here. Then let's go to maximum. And you'll see in a second, see how it took all those away. It left the moles though, which is nice. So you typically don't want to remove moles because those are permanent, whereas a blemish is, temporary. All right. So that's skin smoothing. We have lighting and coloring. This is kind of cool. You could change the lighting. So if you want to put like the lighting, you just grab it right on this little diagram they have here. So you can move the lighting higher or lower, and you could see how it affects the shadows on her face. Like that. Move it off camera, right camera, like that. So that's kind of interesting. Makeup, you could just do master fade, and that is not a way to apply makeup, not a way you would want to do it, but you can apply lipstick, mascara. You could do upper eyeshadow, lower eyeshadow, eyeliner, blusher, bronzer, highlighter, and you could do something with an eyebrow pencil if you want to change the color as well. So that's that. That's makeup. This case here, let's just turn that off. All right, eye. No, this is just things you could do with the person's eye. We have the master fade slider here. You can see how it's affecting her eyes. Let's move it to the right, and you see there's a lot of controls: whiten eyes, clean eyes, white and airy. All those have individual or finer controls underneath those triangles. You could darken the pupil. You could affect the pupil size. You could sharpen the eyes. I often do that myself. You could sharpen eyebrows. I sometimes do that. You brighten the iris. I almost always do that. You have to be careful though. If you go too far, it just won't look realistic. Also, people with brown eyes, they're a little more difficult to brighten, and you tend to have like a point where it looks good, and then you just move it one number over and it looks fake. So you have to be careful with people with brown eyes. It's a little more difficult to change or to brighten their eyes. You can change your eye color if you choose. So we go here. You can change individual eyes if you want to, but let's just give her different color eyes. You can see that, and you can do intensity here. So let's take all that down. Let's just say we're not going to change her eye color. All right, so you can do that. Contact lenses, give her different looks, different irises. Basically, you could do this in Luminar Neo, as you probably know if you're a Luminar Neo user. Add eyelid. See how it just kind of adds a little crease in her eyelid there. Remove pupil reflection. You can see how she has those reflections. I kind of like those. I don't want to remove those. Or you could add your own catch light. So if you take away those reflections, and then you could add your own, and you have different types you could add. Like that lighting, you probably don't want it that intense. Less intense. It just doesn't look right. Click OK down here. Come back up here. Let's go back to that, to the natural look. So that's a lot of controls with her eyes, mouth and nose. Typical controls you would hear, whiten her teeth, clean her teeth. She ate a poppy seed bagel, that would take care of that. The whiten area, so it starts to go up onto her gums there. Lip saturation, darken lips. All the things you would expect. Sharpen the mouth. Sharpen teeth. I've never done that. I don't think I'd want to do that. Nose contrast. Yeah, it's the shadow under her nose. That doesn't look really good. Moisten lips. I often do that in Photoshop. Lip hue. no need to do all that. There's that. Now hair. Portrait Pro 8, I actually could change the color of a person's hair. Let's do the master fade first. You can see how it's affecting her hair. And adding highlights there. As I mentioned, you could recolor her hair. Typically, if you're trying to make a brunette a blonde, in Portrait Pro 8, though, it never looked realistic. Looks okay. It's a little better now than it was in Portrait Pro 8. You would expect it to be light amber brown, medium brown, dark auburn, natural black, midnight black, blue black. Let's give her some blue hair. Can we give her purple hair? Do we purple? Vibrant pink. There's light purple. So you could do that. That's a lot better than it used to be. In Portrait Pro 8, it wasn't very effective. You could do colored highlights if you want. Kind of cool. And so on. So you could do shine. All this affects her hair. So all these fine controls for a person's hair you could do there. Now, hair tightening mode, I'll click on that, and this will bring up a different set of controls. So you could fill hair shadows. That does there. Shadow texture. You could smooth the hair. And that's stuff I would probably do. All right, we'll click OK, get out of that mode, and we're done with hair. And we'll go down to the actual picture. You could see it, we'll just max it out. You could see it's doing much, really isn't doing too much. But you could change the exposure, you could fill shadows, you could get a different black point. You could add contrast or remove contrast, get rid of haze or add haze, give it a high key look or a low key look. And then you have vibrant saturation. You could do all that. So those are just typical controls you would have for a photograph. You could do there. There are layers. I didn't use this or try this out in advance. You could change the background if you'd like to. Again, if you guys want me to do more videos on this, let me know, and then I'll demonstrate how to do the layers section of this. Then you have tools. You could remove noise. You could replace the sky if the sky was showing. There's artifacts. I haven't got into any of this yet. But again, if you want me to, let me know, and I'll do more on it. Now, there is something I do want to show you beyond this. There is something new in Portrait Pro 23 that allows you to remove stray hair. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think it worked that great. It's right up here. See up here we have some tools, and if we hover over, you have a touch-up tool. You have a restore tool. The restore brush only restores effects applied to the skin, so it only works on the skin. All right, then we have this one, stray hair removal tool. And next to that, we have the stray hair restore tool. So if you accidentally took away a stray hair and want to put it back, you'll be able to do it with this brush. But the brush we're interested in is this one. And what we specifically want to do is we want to, we'll click that on, is we have dark hairs on a light background. And then we have a brush. And you can change the brush size with the left and right bracket keys. Left bracket key makes it smaller, right bracket key larger. You can see she has some stray hairs here. Now, unfortunately, in my experience with it, it doesn't really, it just kind of fades them. You can see how they're kind of blown out anyway because of the bright white background. So it just kind of blows them out even more, as you can see what it's doing. But it doesn't really totally eliminate them in this case. Now, there are probably some situations with some images where it works perfectly, but on this specific image, you could see that it's really not working well. So you come in to the edge. So you just come in around the edges of her hair. And you can see it really didn't do it. So you could go to the restore tool here and restore it if you want to. Go back to this one and let's just, I don't know, hair thickness. I messed with this off camera or before I did the video, and I really didn't find a setting that would get rid of these stray hairs on her. So that's that. So that's the stray hair removal. That's something new apparently in Portrait Pro 23. I will add, I know you can't hear it through my microphone, but when using this tool, the fans on my computer kicked on and my computer is chugging right now. So this must be very microprocessor and graphic processor intensive because it makes my computer like really chug away at it. So that's something else new. Now, of course, with the trial version, I can't save this. I can't print it, anything like that. So that's what you get with the trial version. So try it out yourself. There are 3 different versions though. And when you get the trial version, you get the most expensive version. Let's look at the versions. The standard version is $59.95. And with the standard version, you get AI powered portrait editing, free online customer support, and background replacement. For $30 more, $89.95, they add to that RAW and DNG support, so you can work on RAW files, and Photoshop and Lightroom integration. So if you want to use it as a plugin, you have to get this middle version, this $89.95 version. Now there is another version that's way up in price, $179.95. It includes everything the other 2 versions had, but it adds fully automatic batch editing. So that's a big price jump to gain fully automatic batch editing. So I would imagine that a big studio might prefer to use or to purchase this Max version so that they have that batch editing. Most of us are probably going to buy one of the other 2. If we're heavy Lightroom and Photoshop users, we'd probably buy this middle version. Below that, you could see the individual features and what is included and not included in each of the different versions. I'll have a link to this, to their website and this webpage specifically in the description below this video. In case you haven't guessed, I'm not affiliated with Anthropix. I'm not affiliated with them at all. They don't even know who I am, as far as I know. So I won't gain anything if you purchase their application. So just throw that out there so you know that. So that's it. That's Portrait Pro 23. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos. I really do appreciate it. Talk to you guys soon.